Epiphany or Theophany, theta epsilon omicron phi alpha mu epsilon iota alpha, tau Theophania meaning vision of God, also known as Three Kings Day, is a Christian feast day that celebrates the revelation of God the Son as a human being in Jesus Christ. In Western Christianity, the feast commemorates principally the visit of the Magi to the Christ child, and thus Jesus' physical manifestation to the Gentiles. Moreover, the Feast of the Epiphany, in some Western Christian denominations, also initiates the liturgical season of Epiphany Tide. Eastern Christians, on the other hand, commemorate the baptism of Jesus in the Jordan River, seen as his manifestation to the world as the Son of God. The traditional date for the feast is January 6. However, since 1970, the celebration is held in some countries on the Sunday after January 1. Eastern churches following the Julian calendar observe the Theophany feast on what for most countries is January 19 because of the 13-day difference today between that calendar and the generally used Gregorian calendar. In many Western Christian churches, the eve of the feast is celebrated as Twelfth Night. The Monday after Epiphany is known as Plough Monday. Alternative names for the feast in Greek include theta epsilon omicron phi alpha nu iota alpha, Theophany is neuter plural rather than feminine singular, eta mu epsilon rho alpha tau omega nu phi omega tau omega nu. I meraton photon, he hemeraton photon, the day of the lights, and tau alpha phi omega tau alpha, tar fota, the lights. Etymology and original word usage. The Koine Greek pi iota phi alpha mu epsilon iota alpha, epiphania derives from the verb to appear, and means manifestation, appearance. In classical Greek it was used of the appearance of dawn, of an enemy in war, but especially of a manifestation of a deity to a worshipper. In the Septuagint, the word is used of a manifestation of the God of Israel. In the New Testament, the word is used in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 10 to refer either to the birth of Christ or to his appearance after his resurrection, and 5 times to refer to his second coming. History. The observance had its origins in the Eastern Christian churches and was a general celebration of the manifestation of the incarnation of Jesus Christ. It included the commemoration of his birth, the visit of the Magi, all of Jesus' childhood events, up to and including his baptism in the Jordan by John the Baptist, and even the miracle at the wedding at Cana in Galilee. It seems fairly clear that the baptism was the primary event being commemorated. Christians fixed the date of the feast on January 6 quite early in their history. Ancient liturgies noted illuminatio, manifestatio, declaratio, cf. Matthew chapter 3 verses 13 to 17, Luke chapter 3 verse 22, and John chapter 2 verses 1 to 11, where the baptism and the marriage at Cana were dwelt upon. Western Christians have traditionally emphasized the revelation to the Gentiles, mentioned in Luke, where the term Gentile means all non-Jewish peoples. The biblical Magi, who represented the non-Jewish peoples of the world, paid homage to the infant Jesus in stark contrast to Herod the Great, who sought to kill him. In this event, Christian writers also inferred a revelation to the children of Israel. St. John Chrysostom identified the significance of the meeting between the Magi in Herod's court. The star had been hidden from them so that, on finding themselves without their guide, they would have no alternative but to consult the Jews. In this way the birth of Jesus would be made known to all. The earliest reference to Epiphany as a Christian feast was in AD 361, by Ammianus Marcellinus Street. Epiphanius says that January 6 is Hemerogenethlian Tautistine Epiphanian. He also asserts that the miracle at Cana occurred on the same calendar day. In 385, the pilgrim Egeria described a celebration in Jerusalem and Bethlehem, which she called Epiphany, that commemorated the Nativity of Christ. Even at this early date, there was an octave associated with the feast. In a sermon delivered on the 25th of December 380, St. Gregory of Nazianzus referred to the day as Epiphania, saying expressly that it is a day commemorating he hired two Christogenesis and told his listeners that they would soon be celebrating the baptism of Christ. Then, on January 6 and 7, he preached two more sermons, wherein he declared that the celebration of the birth of Christ and the visitation of the Magi had already taken place, and that they would now commemorate his baptism. At this time, celebration of the two events was beginning to be observed on separate occasions, at least in Cappadocia. St. John Cassian says that even in his time, the Egyptian monasteries celebrated the Nativity and baptism together on January 6. The Armenian Apostolic Church continues to celebrate January 6 as the only commemoration of the Nativity. Music. Classical. Johann Sebastian Bach composed in Leipzig two cantatas for the feast which concluded Christmastide. Sie werden aus Sauber aller kommen, BWV 65. Liebster Emanuel, Herzog der Frommen, BWV 123. Part 6 of his Christmas oratorio, Herr, wenn die Stolzen feiern dich now bin, was also designed to be performed during the service for Epiphany. Carol. Perhaps the most familiar Christmas carol associated with Epiphany is We Three Kings of Orient, written by the Reverend John Henry Hopkins, Jr., then an ordained deacon in the Episcopal Church, instrumental in organizing an elaborate holiday pageant for the students of the General Theological Seminary in New York City in 1857 while serving as the seminary's music director. Date of celebration. Until 1955, when Pope Pius XII abolished all but 3 liturgical octaves, the Latin Church celebrated Epiphany as an 8-day feast, known as the Octave of Epiphany, beginning on January 6 and ending on January 13. The Sunday within that octave was since 1893 the Feast of the Holy Family, and Christmastide was reckoned as the 12 days ending on January 5. Followed by the January 6 to 13 octave. The 1969 revision of the general Roman calendar made the date to some extent variable, stating, "The Epiphany of the Lord is celebrated on the 6th of January, unless, where it is not observed as a holy day of obligation, it has been assigned to the Sunday occurring between 2 and the 8th of January. It also made the Feast of the Epiphany part of Christmas time, which it defined as extending from the first Vespers of Christmas up to and including the Sunday after Epiphany." Prior to 1976, Anglican churches also observed an 8-day feast, beginning on January 6. Today, the Epiphany of our Lord, classified as a principal feast, is observed in some Anglican provinces on January 6 exclusively, but in the Church of England the celebration is on the 6th of January or transferred to the Sunday falling between 2 and the 8th of January. Lutheran, United Methodist and United Church of Christ congregations, along with those of other denominations, may celebrate Epiphany on January 6, on the following Sunday within the Epiphany week, or at another time as local custom dictates. Eastern churches celebrate Epiphany on January 6. Some, as in Greece, employ the modern revised Julian calendar, which until the year 2800 coincides with the Gregorian calendar, the one in use for civil purposes in most countries. Other Eastern churches, as in Russia, hold to the older Julian calendar for reckoning church dates. In these old calendar churches, Epiphany falls at present on Gregorian January 19, which is January 6 in the Julian calendar. Epiphany season. In some churches, the Feast of the Epiphany initiates the Epiphany season, also known as Epiphany Tide. In Advent 2000, the Church of England, Mother Church of the Anglican Communion, introduced into its liturgy an optional Epiphany season by approving the Common Worship series of services as an alternative to those in the Book of Common Prayer, which remains the Church's normative liturgy and in which no such liturgical season appears. An official publication of the Church of England states, "The Christmas season is often celebrated for 12 days, ending with the Epiphany. Contemporary use has sought to express an alternative tradition, in which Christmas lasts for a full 40 days. Ending with the Feast of the Presentation on the 2nd of February, it presents the latter part of this period as the Epiphany season, comprising the Sundays of Epiphany and ending only with the Feast of the Presentation. Another interpretation of Epiphany season applies the term to the period from Epiphany to the day before Ash Wednesday. Some Methodists in the United States followed this interpretation in 1964, as did Methodists in Singapore in 2014. Lutherans celebrate the last Sunday before Ash Wednesday as the Transfiguration of our Lord, and it has been said that they call the whole period from Epiphany to then as Epiphany season. The Evangelical Lutheran Church in America used the terms time after Epiphany to refer to this period. The expression with after has been interpreted as making the period in question correspond to that of ordinary time. The Presbyterian Church states that neither Epiphany nor Pentecost are seasons, and that it is a misunderstanding to imagine that expressions such as fifth Sunday after Epiphany indicate the existence of such a time as Epiphany season. These expressions merely indicate the passing of time, not the character of the period, for neither the period after Epiphany nor that after Pentecost focus on a dominant event or theme. The correct term, it says, is therefore ordinary time. In the Catholic Church, Christmas time runs from first Vespers of the Nativity of the Lord up to and including the Sunday after Epiphany or after the 6th of January, and ordinary time begins on the Monday which follows the Sunday occurring after the 6th of January. Before the 1969 revision of its liturgy, the Sundays following the octave of Epiphany, or, when this was abolished, following the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord, which was instituted to take the place of the octave day of Epiphany, were named as the second Sunday after Epiphany. As the at least 24 Sundays following Pentecost Sunday and Trinity Sunday were known as the second Sunday after Pentecost. The Encyclopedia of Catholic Devotions and Practices, which has received the imprimatur of John Michael Darcy, with reference to Epiphany tide,